It's time to breathe again on the latest breath of fresh air, Shortie, to close out the week. I am Charles, your host for today, and I am here to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. Now, before I get into what's going on with Beckham Jr., uh, it's been a it's been a week for the NFL, and I'm not just talking about the news on the field. We got into the injuries that happened to Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry and New Orleans Saints quarterback Jameis Winston. Henry's injury, we'll see if it's a season ender. There's hope that he can come back some point during the season. Winston's is a season ender because he tore his ACL. So a lot going on the injury front, but you have some really sad and tragic off-field news involving Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver formerly playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, where a woman died in an accident he was involved in, and he was heavily impaired uh, during the accident, going twice the legal limit of on the blood alcohol levels. So, really tragic story there in Las Vegas. And then you have the news with Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers and him getting COVID, which takes him out of the game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs and possibly their next game against the Seattle Seahawks. So, lots of news to get into there. Has been covered throughout the week, and so has this story with Odell Beckham Jr. So, with Beckham, you have a guy who got released today. It's pretty much a done deal. He is no longer a member of the Cleveland Browns. So now the question becomes, where does he go from here? Simply put, before we jump into the teams, is look, things just they didn't work out for whatever reason. Now it can be debated whether or not he's at fault for this. Is the head coach Kevin Stefanski, is he at fault? Is Baker Mayfield the quarterback? Is he at fault? Look, I think it's a combination of all the above. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski necessarily called the right plays to help get OBJ open. I'm not a huge believer in Baker Mayfield as a franchise quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but is he the guy who's going to take you to uh, heights you haven't seen before? Probably not. He can get you to a certain point, like last year. They got to the AFC divisional playoff. More on that in a minute. But Odell Beckham Jr. Look, he's not the same player, and I, I'm not gonna say he's a bad player, but to call him someone as like someone like a difference maker per se, he hasn't been that guy. More often than not, what I think you can equate Odell Beckham Jr. to is a flash in the pan player. He had some highlight catches. We all remember the catch he had against the Dallas Cowboys on that Sunday night in 2014, where he just kind of splashed on off of that catch. He's an athletic receiver, a good receiver. He has great talent, but it hasn't equated really to anything. It's not like the teams he's been on have been perennial playoff contenders. When he was with the New York Giants, they only went to that playoff, or they only went to the playoffs that one year in 2016, and they were a wild card exit. Of course, people remember him and another group of guys. They went down to Miami during that week where they probably should have been preparing for the playoff game, but that's neither here or there. But it's not like he was contributing big time to success. And then he gets traded to the Cleveland Browns. He gets hurt there. Of course, he had a year with the Giants where he missed a big part of the season with I think it was a torn ACL, and then he tore his ACL last season for the Browns. When he got hurt, the Browns they they continued to just ascend, and they made the playoffs last year without him there. So if he was going to come back and be better than ever, it had to be to the point where he was actually contributing to the team's success, because obviously it was proven they didn't need him last season. So now he's back. He didn't play the first couple of weeks. He came back in week 3, and he just kind of looks lost out there. Again, that could be maybe Baker Mayfield is not looking for him. It could be when Odell Beckham is not getting the ball. Then when he knows he's not getting the ball, he's not. And there's not a lot of effort there. It was just one of those things. It just wasn't going to work out long term, and it's probably better. These guys parted, or the receiver parted ways with the team. Now, people will ask, well, why didn't they trade him on Tuesday's trade deadline? I really don't think there's a lot of teams that want Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think he's that hot of a commodity, and they definitely don't want him at the contract he had. So now the question becomes, where does he go from here? Two teams that come to mind for me is the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Saints, Michael Thomas is not coming back for the rest of the season. They were hoping he would come back, but he's not going to be back for the rest of the season. That ankle, I guess, is too severely injured for him to come back. So Odell Beckham can come into that situation and could instantly, honestly, he can instantly make a difference there, because the Saints are throwing more to Alvin Kamara than they are any of their receivers. So that would help Alvin Kamara, and it would help the Saints offense if somebody could come in and become a threat for that offense. And plus, Odell Beckham, we know his ties to LSU. He went to LSU. He's a Louisiana guy. So maybe it could be some sort of a homecoming for him. With the Raiders, I mentioned the Henry Ruggs situation. So the Raiders need a big play receiver who can get down the field. And Odell Beckham Jr. can still stretch the field out. He's still very athletic. He's still fast. He can get some things accomplished there. So those are the two teams that stick out to me. I know I have heard maybe the Seahawks, maybe the Packers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers. That doesn't make any sense to me, because all those teams have established receivers already. So it's not like they. I don't see where bringing Odell Beckham helps that situation. They don't need another receiver to throw to on top of the receivers they already have there. It's probably going to be something similar to what you already had in Cleveland if Beckham was to join that team. But all things considered, the biggest factor in this is Odell Beckham Jr. himself. He needs to humble himself. He needs to just go in there, go to work, and play. Can't keep complaining if he's not getting the ball. He has to be a teammate, a consummate teammate. And it just seems like the more things change, the more things stay the same. It's still the same antics that seem to happen, although it wasn't really as live with the antics as it has been in the past. This time, it just seems like he was just upset getting the ball, but you know his dad wanted to chime in. You had LeBron throw his 2 cents in there talking about free OBJ. I mean, LeBron, maybe you should worry about the Lakers, because y'all not looking good right now, and you're always getting hurt now too. You're starting to become kind of injury prone, but I digress. When it comes to OBJ, he's going to have to go wherever he goes. He's going to have to humble himself. He's going to have to come in there, be ready to be a team guy, and contribute to a winning team. Again, when Cleveland made the playoffs, OBJ was not part of that. So he's getting released. Most likely, he's going to go to a contending team. The Saints are a 5-2 football team right now. The Raiders are a 5-2 football team right now. So those are the two teams that stand out. I don't know if he's going to either of those two teams, but those are the ones that make the most sense to me. And if he does go to those teams or wherever he goes, he needs to just humble himself, come to work, and be ready to contribute. If he's going to continue to have the same antics that has plagued him throughout his career, on top of those injury troubles he's had, then he's going to play himself right out of the league, and nobody's going to want part of him or want him to be part of the team. So just come in, be humble, get things together, have a hungry attitude, have the chip on your shoulders, whatever it takes to get you motivated, and play football. Just go out there, do your thing, and maybe, just maybe, he can capture some of that magic that he was able to show on those flashes of the pan that I mentioned earlier. Well, that's what I'm breathing on for today. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Until next time, y'all take care, have a good weekend, and enjoy the games.